These weren't supposed to come until Saturday. Hello tarantula lovers, I'm Alex and you're watching Tarantula Haven. Before I get started, I'd like to give a special shout out to one of my subscribers. Her mom purchased a couple of masks from us, and she personally thanked me on my Facebook page and told me how much she likes the mask, and her daughter, how much her daughter likes her mask. And she said that her daughter is starting karate here real soon and she needs a mask. Everybody wears a mask in karate. And she wanted something that wasn't going to fall off her face and fit nicely. So this mask actually worked well for her, and it fits nicely and doesn't fall off her face. So I was really appreciative of the positive feedback. And I asked her if she would send me a picture of her daughter so I could share it here on Tarantula Haven. And she did. And she also told me that her daughter has a birthday coming up July 29th. And here's real sad. She's not going to be celebrating her birthday and having a party in the normal fashion. She's going to have kind of a virtual birthday party. So that breaks my heart. So from the bottom of my heart, I'd really like to wish you a happy birthday, a happy early birthday. And I would like for my subscribers and viewers, if you would please leave a happy birthday comment down below. I'm sure she would really like to hear from you. Kaylin, I'm so sorry that you don't get to celebrate your birthday in a normal fashion. Maybe if we all wear our masks and safeguard, we can fight this virus and get things going back to normal as soon as possible. So I did a thing. Because ReptiCon was this last July 4th weekend, and because of COVID-19, I also had plans that were messed up. I did not get to go. Florida, we're peaking right here. We're having a whole bunch of cases, and I just didn't feel like it was safe enough for me to go out and be in public, so I didn't go. And I had some money that I was saving for ReptiCon, and I decided that I was going to order something instead. So what I have here is not tarantulas. It's something that I've been kind of looking into, and I've been researching a little bit. I'll pull these out, and these are it right here. And that is it that's in the box. Oh, and I got a coupon code to use for $10 off for next time. So these are not tarantulas. These are something that I've been eyeballing for a little while, and I haven't quite pushed myself to do it. And I kind of told myself if I went to ReptiCon, I would look into it and I would see if I would get them this time, because I was eyeballing them last time I was there. And my daughter was kind of interested in them too. And we just said, no, we're not going to do that right now. So I figured since I wasn't going to go to ReptiCon, I wasn't going to get a chance to do it. I'm going to go ahead and pull the trigger on it, and we're going to do this thing. So what are they? They are isopods. And a little backstory here. When I was a kid and we first moved into our new home where I lived, my mom would go out and she would water the plants. And every time she watered the plants, we would have all these little roly-polies that climbed up the wall. And me being like I was back then, and still am, I guess, I would go find a container. Ooh, do y'all hear that thunder? It's thundering. It's Florida. So anyway, I would find a container and I would catch all these little roly-polies. And I had no idea what they were as far as species or anything like that. There were some that rolled up into little balls, and then there were some that were a little bit flatter and had kind of a little bit of a skirt around them. So I never thought that they were two different species. I thought maybe one was male, one was female, because the ones that were flatter and bigger, I could always turn them over, and usually I would see eggs or something on their belly, on their abdomen. So I'd always loved them when I was little, and I would always end up keeping them in that container, and somehow it never failed. The container is usually a jar. It would get tipped over and these isopods would get loose in the house, and they would always find their way to my dad's shoes. So in the mornings when my dad was getting ready for work, I would always hear about it. Hey, who got these isopods, or who got these roly-polies in this house, and so on. And I wasn't allowed to keep roly-polies anymore. So anyway, I've been seeing a lot of people keeping isopods now, and I never knew there were so many varieties, and there's so many strange looking ones and really cool looking ones. So I decided that I wanted to try my hand at them, and that's exactly what I've done today. So before I actually pull out the isopods and show them to you, I wanted to show you the enclosures that I set up. I had to do this kind of in a hurry. I was actually intending on buying larger enclosures, but my wife had these on hand and I decided I could go ahead and do that. She doesn't want me going out in public and getting sick. So I used these, and if you notice that there is black stuff right here, these are the ventilation holes. And I learned that you can put fabric on here if it's a fine mesh that can allow it to breathe and have cross ventilation go in. So I put fabric on here. I glued it on there so that you don't get any pests that come in here, because sometimes when you raise isopods and you have all the substrate and everything in there, you can attract fungus gnats, and fungus gnats are definitely something you don't want to have in there. They're pests. They bother you. They also create a problem for you. So I wanted to avoid that. And I wish I'd known that when I've done other enclosures, because that's a pretty cool idea. Now, these isopods were not supposed to arrive today. They were supposed to arrive Saturday. Today is Wednesday. And it also caught me a little bit off guard on the substrate. So I've been kind of experimenting with bioactive substrate. I had purchased some dwarf white isopods, so there may be some dwarf whites in here. But anyway, the substrate that I have in here is pretty close to what's recommended, but there are some things that are missing on here. I do need to go out and buy some compost, and I do need to go get some orchid bark to put in here as well. So I'm not done with the substrate. I will add more stuff to it, but for right now, this is going to do. Again, I was caught a little bit off guard because it was supposed to come on Saturday. What species did I get? I ended up buying 3 species. 2 of them are mine, and 1 of them is my daughter's. She also wanted to try her hand at it, so she picked out a species of her own, and she's going to raise those. But I didn't break the bank. I didn't go out and buy rubber duckies or anything like that. Some of them can get very expensive. Rubber duckies, last time I was at ReptiCon, they sold for about $150 for 10. For 10 specimens, $150. But rubber duckies are kind of rare. They breed very slowly. They come from Thailand, and they're a little bit difficult to keep. You have to know how to keep them. So those are things that I've been learning as I've been doing research and stuff. Maybe one day I'll keep rubber duckies, but right now they are out of my price range and they are out of my experience level. So until I get to that point, we'll see how I do with these. Maybe in the future I'll get some rubber duckies. So one of the ones that I got, this is Porcellio. Excuse me, I'm learning these names. This is Porcellionides pruinosus. Porcellionides pruinosus. And these are the powdery orange. And this was not very expensive. I think there are 20 plus specimens in here. So let's zoom in on that. And I like these little guys because they're a beautiful orangey color. And from what I understand, they're pretty prolific and easy to breed and not too hard to care for. So that's exactly what I'm looking for. I want something that I can gain experience with and care for them and not worry too much if I make mistakes or anything like that. I want to learn with them. So hopefully these guys are a little bit hardier, and I'll be able to reproduce them and make more and have a whole bunch of them eventually. The next one, these are my daughter's, and these are Porcellio laevis, otherwise commonly known as the dairy cow. And these were also not too expensive, although some of you may consider them to be expensive. These were about, I want to say $24 for a dozen. And there may be more than a dozen. It says 12 plus. So anyway, these guys are very beautiful. They're a great beginner species from what I understand, and they're also very prolific. So hopefully we'll be able to reproduce these as well. And she's really excited. My daughter is really excited to have them. She's been wanting to try her hand at them for a little bit, and she absolutely loves these. And the last one, these are Armadillidium maculatum. So these are commonly known as the zebra isopod. And these were a little bit more expensive. They were about $28 for a dozen also. And these are probably the most favorite species that people keep. And how can you not love those little stripy colors? And these are more like your roly-polies. They roll up into little balls. The other two do not. And I'm still learning. I know that babies are referred to as mankai. And there's just a whole lot of information to take in and learn. And this is beautiful right there. It's got the classic striping there. And that's why they're so popular, because they have those distinguishing marks like that. They have a beautiful contrast. But you also get some that are a little bit different. You get some variations in them. Here's an example of that. And this little guy right here, I'm trying not to hurt him. See how he doesn't have that classic striping? He's got more of a mottled, kind of muddied up striping there. So what a lot of people that raise isopods do is they'll take some like this. If they like that variation, they'll separate them out and put them in their own tub, and they'll breed for these anomalies and try to get as many different variations of the same species as they can, which is kind of cool. I'd like to try that out. And Armadillidium's a little bit more temperamental as far as keeping them. They prefer it a little bit drier, and most people will keep a dry side in the tub and a wetter side on the other side. All right, so let's get these babies out of these deli tubs and put them into their new enclosure. Let's start out with the Porcellanitis pruinosus, the powder orange isopods. And it says 20 plus on the advertisement, but I'm pretty sure there's well more than 20 in there. And I'm pretty excited about these because I know that they breed pretty readily and they're hardy and easy to keep. Fun little fact, there is a powder blue isopod and they happen to be the same species, just different color variations of the same one. I love how active they seem to be. Next up, we'll do the Porcellio laevis, which are the dairy cows. And these are my daughters, but I'm pretty excited to have them too. I'm hoping they'll reproduce quickly because then I can steal some from her and start my own colony. And I just love the sheer size of this particular isopod. Color variations are really neat. There's little splotches here and there. From what I understand, there's also a solid white color variant, and you can breed for that by selecting the ones that have the fewest spots on them. And it looks like these were a little bit quicker to hide. These are supposed to be a little bit more active and not quite as photosensitive. They don't shy away from light too much. And finally, we'll do the Armadillidium maculatum, which are the zebra isopods. And I think these are pretty close to a dozen. It doesn't seem like there's as many in here, but that's okay. If they breed well, then hopefully I'll get more real soon. And here's another example of that weird variation in the striping where it's more mottled and less defined. And I wanted to point out this little light colored guy on the side. That is what's known as a chocolate zebra, and you can actually breed for that light coloration and get chocolate zebras. That little guy seems to be wrapped around a piece of sphagnum moss and doesn't want to let go. And I think this species is the shyest of the three. They don't seem to be as active. I just can't believe how cute these little guys are. My daughter keeps saying that all she wants to do is just hold them every time she looks at them. All right, aren't they the coolest? If you'd have asked me a few years ago that I would be keeping isopods and that I would be spending about 30 bucks for 12 isopods, I'd have told you were crazy. But I see the allure. I see the why people like to keep them and how fun they are. I'm not keeping them to use as cleanup crew for my tarantula cages. In fact, it's recommended that you don't use certain species for that because they can prey on your tarantula if your tarantula is in a vulnerable spot, like it's molting or something like that. So you have to be real careful with what you do using your enclosures. If you want cleanup crews, there are dwarf white isopods, and I don't remember the scientific name off the top of my head, but those are used frequently for your bioactive substrates. I believe the powder oranges are okay to use as well. but their numbers can get quite large, so you have to be really, really careful for that. These are just pets. They're just fascinating to keep. It's awesome to see them grow and to see what kind of morphs you can get out of them from the different ones. As you saw on the zebras, you had some that had the weird patterns on them, and then you had the chocolates, and those are actually sought after as well. So I could potentially single those out and breed for chocolates and just try to come up with different things just from breeding them. So it's just fun. It's just something that you can keep as a pet, and it's really rewarding if they do well and your populations explode. If you want to learn more about isopods, I highly recommend you check out these channels. Reptiliatus, I looked at his channel and he has a lot of valuable information on isopods. Aquarimax Pets is another one, and he's really, really good and very thorough at describing all your needs for isopods and all the different species as well. And probably the top one is Supreme Gecko. He knows his stuff. He's got lots and lots of species, and he's very thorough as far as what kind of substrate to use, what to feed them, how to care for them, all that kind of stuff. So I'm definitely binge watching their channel on all their isopod information so that I can learn as much as I can about them. So I'll put a link down in my description so you can check them out as well. And that wraps it up for me today. I hope you enjoyed it. A special early happy birthday to you, Kaylin. I hope your actual birthday turns out to be wonderful. Please don't forget to leave her a happy birthday note down below in the comments. And if you enjoyed this episode, please give me a like. If you want to see more, subscribe. If you want to support this channel, I have a Teespring store where I sell Tarantula Haven merchandise. There's a link down below in the comments as well. Until next time, keep loving them tarantulas and isopods.